Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Ramf, and I'm here to tell you about all the things that are happening in Missoula, all the weathers, all the movies that are coming out this weekend. Also, I got a lot of city council to get through for today. They're talking about a lot of different things, from development, street development, the changing environment that is the city of Missoula, and I got that report here for you guys later in the show. I usually save it for the middle because it's usually the big meaty part of my show. So let's kick things off with a little bit of weather. 43 degrees outside. Your high is going to be 62 with 40% of chances of showers, increasing into tonight to about 50%. You're going to have a low of 44 degrees, but your high for Saturday is going to be 64. Sunday, you can expect some of those temperatures to be much, much warmer with the highs into 73 degrees. Monday, you're going to be partly cloudy with highs into 66 degrees, which you still have a chance of rain happening over the weekend. All right, before I jumped the gun on that one. All right, so before I get into some news items, I got some MCAT news items I want to get through as well. Just so far, we're going to be airing all the forums for all the city council wards that are up for election. We already did the wards for we already did the wards for Ward 1. We've already done the wards for wards 5 and 6, and so on the 24th and the 25th, we're going to be recording for wards 2, 3, and 4. And so if you are in any of those wards and you missed Ward 1, we're going to be airing on MCAT. You can look at MCAT.org, and you can find it on our Channel 190. Let me just bring up that website. If you are going onto our website, you go to Watch Channel 190. If you want it right now and you just can't wait, you can go see the entire schedule, and you can see all the forums that are going to be coming up as well. But if you go to the main page right here, you see that there's Ward 1 candidate form is already up there, ready to go, and they will be popping up as we go along. But also, I wanted to also mention that the next candidates forum for wards 3 and 4 are going to be happening on September 24th, which is the Missoula City Council Chambers, which is 140 West Pine Street, and it's going to be Riverfront, Rose Park, and University districts. It's going to be between Drew Iverson and then incumbent Gwen Jones. Ward 4 neighborhood councils. This is for people who live in the Fairview, Patty Canyon, Lewiston Clark, Mills, Congolese, Rose Park, Southgate Triangle, and University District. This is an open election. There's no incumbent going into this. This is Amber Sherrill and Ellen Alt. These folks will be battling it out for their wards on September 24th between 6 and 8 p.m. The 24th of September. So that's next week. And then again on next week, the September 25th, there's going to be another one from 6 to 8 p.m. the next day. This is between Myrta Becerra and Brent Sperry. Myrta Becerra is the incumbent for Ward 2, and they'll be going out. If you live in the Captain John Mullen, Grant Creek, and West Side area, this is your ward. All right, so let's talk about some news items that are happening in and around the city of Missoula. Many University of Montana professors are waiting to hear whether or not they're going to get tenure. So about 19 applications went to the Board of Regents, have been put off and have not been put onto the agenda, and has been being called staff oversight. The Missoula article dives into a little more about this, but I'll just hit a couple notes. Many professors were hoping to go on sabbatical this year, but many have to wait until November to know whether or not they get tenure when the Board of Regents approve it in November. On a side note, less than a month ago, about 60 to 70 UM and Missoula College employees failed to receive paychecks on time, which the university said it was a drop in delays in submitting necessary paperwork. Many people at the Board of Regents reassured that professors will get their tenure at the beginning of the academic year, August 2019, as soon as they approve it in November, which many professors are a little wary because tenure is approved by the Board of Regents, even though spokespeople from the university say that it's guaranteed for the academic year since August. So that's kind of what's happening now in the local university news. In state news, the North Heroes fire was started by a person who has been cited for some of the fires. The Helena officials declined to drop the person's name who started the fire of the more than 5,000-acre fire north of Helena. The Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation has estimated the suppression cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.2 million, according to Helena Unit Manager John Hudson. Helena Independent Record also mentions that the U.S. Bureau of Land Management Law Enforcement cited the suspect with one count of causing a fire other than a campfire and one count of burning timber trees and burn outside the campfire. Each ticket carries about $500 fine plus a $30 processing fee for a total cost of $1,060. Of course, this is bad for certain individuals. If any properties or houses were burned down by the cause of this person, a lot of times insurance don't cover for that. But luckily, out of the 500 homes that were evacuated during this fire, no structures have been burned. Heavy equipment operators will begin working next week to repair the fire lines constructed within and around the burn perimeter. Seeding, mulching, weed spraying, and hazardous tree removal will come next. So that's what they're at right now. National news. The big thing that's happening in national news is the Area 51 raid. Back in Rachel, Nevada, people are gathering around, which is going to be part of a 3-day festival. So far, they've been able to see about 30,000 people just swarm the area as well. Many of the Facebook posts says that this will be happening between 3 and 6 p.m. Pacific time. And the post, basically, it was a joke post, and this post wrote, and I quote, "We will all meet up at Area 51 Alien Center tourist attraction and coordinate our entry. If we Naruto run, we can move faster than their bullets. Let's see them aliens." End quote. Of course, what many speculates as an alien secret military base. The military has said that this is for secret aeronautics and defense programs, national security secrets to protect the nation. Of course, here's some more news. Last weekend, Neil Wells, our employee here, he went on the C-47 Miss Montana plane flight, got some interviews, and got a chance to fly around the Missoula area in an old World War II carrier. So without further ado, here's a little news package for you guys, and when I come back, I'm going to be talking about some movies that are going to be coming out this weekend, so stay with me.
Together about just a little over a year ago in another antique airplane near Atlanta when we came up with the Miss Montana to Normandy campaign. So I think between everybody back here at the museum over the last several months, we kind of been looking for what's next with this airplane. You know, we've got all these amazing volunteers. We've got this great group of supporters and fan club, not only from Montana but all over the United States and all over the world.
So today we are taking a group of kids that were part of an aviation camp that came out here to the Museum of Mountain Flying recently, and unfortunately the weather wasn't good when they came out to the event, so we promised we'd get them up in the plane, and we're taking them around for their flight right now. And then later on, we're going to be dropping some paratroopers for a Montana Green Beret event this evening. And then Miss Montana is taking off for the Bahamas. So really excited about her being able to help bring aid and assistance to the victims of Hurricane Dorian. And we're so thankful for everybody for donating supplies and money to the cause.
Our efforts to work with them to help others, you know, what a great calling it is.
The airplane's made for it. Yeah, it's a perfect airplane for it. So we looked into it and found some partners to work with that are really experienced, and so we just get to go down there and do our job, hopefully.
So there's a place called Operation Barbecue Relief that's going to donate 40,000 meals a day to the Bahamas. And so they've asked us if we would donate the airplane and the flying. So we're going to cover all the expenses and the fuel and everything. And the museum decided that it was in our mission. And we're going to dedicate this to the 70th anniversary of the Berlin airlift, where 56 men sacrificed their life over 12 months to feed, you know, people.
Save West Berlin.
Yeah. So a great way to use the same airplane to honor those people that sacrificed, you know, back then. And so it just, I think it all came together and fits really well in our museum mission, and so we're really excited to be able to help. For what we're going to be doing, it's going to be straight, you know, very straightforward. We're just moving 40,000 meals a day to the Western Islands, but Bahamas there, and back to Fort Lauderdale twice a day, hopefully. And we're bringing some extra museum volunteers that are wanting to do and offer to help in anything that they can down there. So we've got a plane full of people, and then we've also started a food drive in backpacks, you know, with toiletries and anything that we can haul down there. We want to take a full airplane while we're heading that way. So it's just been a great turnout. People have been just calling us and showing us nonstop since then. We've got a full stockpile of great supplies. So I think we're going to be very.
Yeah, we think we're gonna avoid being one of those people that waste their time or gets in the way. So we're gonna look, once we get down there, we're partnering with people who are experienced at it. They got a proven track record. They're gonna give us the stuff, load our stuff, load it on us, tell us where to go, and they're gonna be in charge of distributing it when it gets there. So we're gonna be careful, really careful that we're doing something that we can be proud of, and the people of Montana can be proud of. So that's a big priority for us.
Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about a couple movies that are coming out this weekend. It's time for Pre-Critic. They finally did it. They finally did it. The polite drama that is Downton Abbey returns with the original cast and crew in hopes that people will who watched PBS will enjoy this British folks who are in it to win the game of being the most British person alive. Madame Maggie Smith and the others in a cash grab for folks who want to go to a movie and sneak in some tea and crumpets to be fancy. Up next, we got something that is the complete opposite of Downton Abbey. It's While your mama will see Downton Abbey, they have a movie your dad will want to see and tries to remind you that the First Blood, but does not go light on the killing because the First Blood had actually pretty much one accidental death throughout the whole entire movie, who was shooting John Rambo. Yes, Rambo lost blood from the helicopter, and Rambo ran away to basically tumble to his death after he threw a rock at the helicopter. Basically, that's how it works. Now we ignore that lone movie and enjoy a murder cash grab of the last movie that people like. I thought Rambo was like the last one. The title Rambo. But anyways, enjoy this movie that will reboot another Tango and Cash film on Kurt Russell's Yes or No. So, it's Sylvester Stallone's really kind of diving into a lot of his old franchises right now. Moving on, this is not it. Hold on one second. Let me just change that real quick for you. And we got this. Bada bing, bada boom. Just like that. Space being kind of a stretch for people since more and more people need NASA's approval to be like, hey, that's spatially accurate. But anyways, watch a man hunt down his daddy in a space odyssey, and is also the key to saving the Earth from some kind of thing that his dad was originally sent to do. So blah blah blah. That's basically the synopsis. Things happen. He's in space. Other things happen. His dad turns out to be alive probably, and then he has to fight his dad, and it's like, oh no, not only do I have to save the world, but I have to save my dad and my daddy issues. So that's basically kind of like most movies are that kind of have this kind of stuff. So enjoy this movie, The Space Case. It's a race against time in the space race case, which will he use a mace? Watch the mace in the face in the space race case. I totally worded that completely wrong. I should have stuck with the script instead of went off script. But anyways, those are your movies that come out this weekend. I got a movie that I wanted to play last week, but I couldn't play because I ran out of time. So without further ado, here is Dubbin' Stuff from the movie Grave of the Vampire.
He's not the usual teacher. What's this stuff?
Is this a burp or a sneeze?
Alright, class, I'm your substitute teacher, and I'm here to teach you guys about ethics about life. If you do not have a seat, please leave. Thanks for stopping by. This is a very popular class. Please, okay. I can see that you don't understand the ethics of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, but let me tell you about myself. I was born in Delaware. No specific place in Delaware. First of all, let me write you my name. Here is Lockwood. A big D with a whole bunch of little letters next to it. It's pretty crazy. So, in this biology class, I'm going to show you guys the thing about life and all the things that you need to know about nature. First of all, I got some models of some bat. I got a squirrel thing, all crazy things. And, wait, who said that? Well, what's that supposed to mean? I'm just trying really hard to teach you guys. It's not really difficult, you know? I just want to know who booed me. It's nothing complicated. I'm coming here and I'm teaching you guys things about life. Now, I'm going to ask each and every one of you, did you boo me? Do you know who booed me?
Sandler.
I'm a substitute. Do you actually expect me to know exactly who Sandler is?
Well, not exactly, but he is right.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. You guys are taking his side? Who? Sandler. I just want to know who Sandler is, so you guys gotta stop being so mean to me. Okay? This is very important. I'm a substitute teacher. It's harder for us to make a living off teaching, so when we do teach, we try really hard not to show a movie. Alright, for the next hour, I'm going to show you a documentary.
right, just forget that ever happened. Moving on, let's talk about some city council. I got a lot of city council to get through, so let's start off with a brief interlude to the official city council meeting, which happens every Monday at 7 p.m. Mike Painter with a pledge from the Rose Park neighborhood, and this is what he had to say.
About the time that Jane's first Citizen Academy class wrapped up, my big little biological brother completed Flower Mound, Texas's Citizens Academy, and Brad graciously sent me their graduation pledge, which I think is a pretty good directive for us here in little old Missoula, Montana. I am an ambassador for my community. I will do my best to be a well-informed, responsible citizen, to inform others of matters facing us, to encourage my fellow citizens to engage in local issues, and inspire the civil sharing of ideas within the community and government. I pledge this because I believe an engaged citizenry makes us a stronger community.
All right, so that was Mike Painter with the Rose Park neighborhood. This is about the Citizens Academy, which is an 8-week program that provides Missoula citizens with a realistic view of the Missoula Police Department's activities, challenges, and accomplishments. If you want to get in part, you can message Jane Kelly from the Office of Neighborhoods, who helped coordinate this event and kicking off CLE, otherwise known as Citizens Law Enforcement Academy. I just wanted to mention that as well because this is a way for you at home to get involved with the City of Missoula and the city's police and some of the challenges that they face. If you have any issues going on and you'd be like, oh, I need to know how I can help deal with this kind of stuff, it's kind of like how they educate you and inform you how you can solve some of your own issues while also working with the police department. All right, Community of the Whole. The new downtown master plan is posted for public viewing, and the adoption process shall commence mid-September. More than 3,000 individuals participated in the development of the new vision for the downtown Missoula, written by the award-winning planning firm Dover, Cole and Partners. Now, adoption of this plan is the next step. The partners gave a brief overview on neighborhood involvement with the downtown master plan, and this is what they had to say.
This is one of the plans that we're the most proud of. We're close on our timeline to the end. This is the approval process. We've been working pretty much full-time for a year on this plan. You were there with us at the hands-on design session at the beginning of the year. We had over 280 people working at tables, giving us their ideas on base maps, presenting the policies, the goals, the strategies of the plan, really, for our team to turn into a formal plan. All kinds of people, young and old and newcomers and people who've been here for a long time were presenting the ideas. We took the ideas we got from the public, turned it into an open design studio with over 200 people attending, having conversations with consultants like Jim Charlier, our traffic consultant, Mark Ballone, local engineering consultant. There's Mark. The meetings continued. At the same time, Spider McKnight of Six Pony Hitch was traveling around the community, meeting people who weren't as comfortable coming to public meetings.
All right, so that was kind of a brief overview about their outreach for the city, working for over a year on this process, going back and forth to committee and just talking more about the people. There's a lot put in this plan. And master plans have a tendency to last up to 20 years with an additional to changes as the community and future council sees fit. And, for example, one of the things is that, when there's development happening in Missoula, they want to be able to have some say in what's happening within the city of Missoula. And here's basically one example using the Wyoming Street neighborhood.
And then we like this example because it shows, a lot of people didn't like when we showed the Wyoming Street neighborhood. This is the area south of the river, west of the old Sawmill District. And we, it's close to the downtown, so we drew a lot. Big buildings and a lot of people, a center of activity, live, work, and play. 1 story becoming 4 and 5 stories, and not so much. People in Missoula weren't so interested in that. Too much change, too radical, not environmentally friendly enough. And just as a convention, it looked like one big development done by some massive international conglomerate, and this is Missoula, so no. Anyway, so people like Rob went back. They looked more specifically at certain areas, like this spot. We were on the phone and we were talking to property owners, people who live in these houses, renters, people who want to see upgrades to the area. We were talking about people that fish in the river and people who tube. And we tailored the designs like that one to this. So before and after. In this new design, you see development pulls itself off the river, talking to Mark, who understands the floodplains and the movement of the water.
All right, so that is kind of like a brief overview about how involvement with the community has impacted development and plans for future, and that was just one example. Many of the things and many of the side notes that they also mentioned is that Missoula had the same involvement, about 3,800 people, which matches the size even bigger city, like for example El Paso and Richmond. Even Miami had about 4,000 plus people involved in the city planning. Well, Miami has quite the population of millions of people. Missoula only barely has 100 million people, which is about, from last I checked, it was like 78,000 people in the city of Missoula, and about 3,800 people were involved with the planning process. So kind of look at the numbers in terms of ratio of Missoula involvement with this downtown master plan for the city of Missoula. All right, climate change is a big factor, and one of the things that the Dover group wanted to talk a little bit more about is Missoula's interest in having a climate change option within their city master plan planning.
And I appreciate that, because in a lot of places we work, we're not allowed to talk about climate change. Or we can just talk about the symptoms of it, but we can't talk about the base problem. The world is getting warmer, and it's getting drier, and it's going to affect places like this. You're not the desert where we work, like Lubbock. The question of whether Lubbock, Texas is going to have water is a question in 50 years. You're not Miami, which could be underwater in 50 years. Your climate change adaptation and mitigation problems don't seem as dramatic, and they don't make the national news like these other places. However, it's going to be a bigger part of life.
All right, so that's kind of one of the brief quotes as well. Of course, one of the biggest things that the city of Missoula and the many people in the community were just constantly asking and constantly concerned about is affordable housing, and trying to keep those prices for housing down while also not incentivizing bigger higher prices, while also creating a low-income housing to also bolster higher cost of living in general.
The phase of planning, the secret's out. Tech companies are moving here. Kids that went off to school in San Francisco or Seattle are coming back. We've never written a downtown for everyone. Everyone talks about inclusivity and affordability, but I think Missoulians really mean it. And that's going to mean you're going to have to trailblaze a bit when it comes to creating affordable spaces and keeping and retaining affordable spaces. That's going to be the big challenge.
And Missoula is one of many places that also has the same challenges with affordable housing. There is no template for Missoula to actually follow when it comes to affordable housing, so a lot of times Missoula has to come up with their own plan, which is why he mentioned that Missoula has to trailblaze as well. But of course, regardless of wintertime action and all that stuff, transportation also made a big part of their Park One system, where they encourage people. They also wanted to mention about a trolley system they want to put in place for the city of Missoula. But for right now, it looks like the city of Missoula's master plan all has to do with affordable housing, connectivity, and trying to have more the dirty word, which is gentrification, but which is also which I've always talked about on the city council report, where it's just like they have to battle the amount of supply with the amount of demand, as the demand grows so much higher than the supply of housing, and then you have to work on affordable housing for people who already live here and work here. All right, land use and planning. This is a big deal because they talked a little bit more about TED Talks, and this is a long meeting. They had 2 land use and planning meetings. This particular one dove just on TEDs, then they had their lunch break, and then they talked more about land use and planning. But of course, both are very important. Here is Ben Brewer with Development Services, talks a little bit more about the TEDs, and he has a graphic to kind of show what it's all about.
Lots to enable TED through and to meet the zoning for TED. So none of these would permit more than either 20 or 30, given the bonus that we approved, or that was added in from last meeting, potentially at the most, one lot could allow up to 30 units, and then, and so the phasing, and so there would be an individual TED on, lot 1, individual TED on lot 2, and individual TED on lot 3. And then what we're talking about with phasing in TEDs is that within that individual TED on lot 1, that TED could be phased out, so that and we'll talk about this again, but basically that initial declaration is filed, but it's filed to only include, a certain number of TED ownership units as the first phase.
One of the big suggestions that they wanted to do with the TEDs in general is to increase the amount of TEDs from 10 to 15 minimum. But they chose not to do so as well, because they do have the incentive, which adds about 50% more to the units if they pass zoning requirements. And zoning requirements is basically figuring out a way to have different lot sizes, and with TEDs, you're able to actually blur the lines between the lots and be able to combine into a larger TED structure, while also utilizing the alley right-of-way space and turning that into more of the inclusive TED right-of-ways as well. I did want to talk a little bit more about that as well, and let's see. Okay, so requirements. One of the things is that TEDs is heavily used in the city of Missoula, and John DeBari talks about some of the requirements within the TEDs.
For whatever reason, there needed to be a variation from that rule. The developer could seek a variance. There's a process for that through the Board of Adjustment. And they could then evaluate the merits of that variance request and make a determination. That's one thought. The other thought is to simply just make a note, which we do in zoning frequently, just a little footnote at the bottom of this that says the intention here is that we are creating blocks, but also the intention is to be sensitive to what the topographic features are and to vary in some reasonable way from that length, but we still want blocks.
All right. So many of what's being said is that they wanted to regulate and prevent some structures from being certain, they don't want things to be kind of carried away with such large infrastructures such as the Hillview Way project, which is being considered, and it's also like a 3-phase project, and it's such a major undertaking as well. Not to mention the specific request for this one also is on a hillside, so building a TED on flat land is perfectly fine, but the zoning has to make adjustments for the curved land, so that's what they're trying to figure out. Is because of that, they have to update the ordinance, which is why they're talking so much about the TEDs in the first place. Gwen Jones is frustrated with the variances to decisions of developing, and here's Gwen Jones.
With variances, I think you have different people that rotate on and off the Board of Adjustment, and they have some degree of land use planning, but variance is also, I think, neighbor input is a big factor, and I would just rather have a decision like this made and looked at from the viewpoint of people who are in the industry and understand the rationale behind it and how to make it work with topography. So I am inclined to go in that direction.
All right, so they just want to have more information and try to figure out a way to help streamline a lot of these policies as well. TEDs are a tool, and it was regulated by the state of Montana, but then, of course, the Missoula can update the policy to match it. They can't take away from what the policy already says in the state rule in terms of TEDs, which stands for Townhouse Exemption Development. And the city uses this for affordable housing demands. Missoula is one of the cities in Missoula that actually puts TEDs to the test on more than any other place in the state of Montana. Hence, the update already exists. The state policy reflects an ever-growing Missoula and standard updates, as you heard from the committee of the whole. Hey, the downtown master plan also reflects many things that are happening in the city of Missoula, and things are constantly changing. And speaking of which, some people are kind of frustrated with the addition of Mary Jane Boulevard, which is going to be connecting Mullen to all the way to Broadway. And so, like, there's Flynn Lane you can go down, but then you can go down Reserve to get to Broadway, or you just keep going down Mullen to go the long way to Broadway. But they're trying to figure out a way to have another throughway and improve the streets and try to deter people from driving down Flynn Lane, which is a school crossing area as well. So, land use and planning. After the lunch, they talked a little bit more about string weather shelter ordinance that would allow for certain places to get a sanctuary, such as Salvation Army, a way to legally have people overnight. And so I kind of went out, I'm just kind of going to briefly go over this. And so number one, facilities will provide shelters for individuals who are homeless or are at risk. 2, facilities can provide a service of a maximum of 5 months in any calendar year. And 3, eligible participants can only be on site between 6 p.m. and 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. the next day. In instances of extreme weather outside these hours, the director of the facility has the ability to allow participants to remain on site temporarily. B, facilities approved as an extreme weather shelter by the Housing and Community Development Office shall have an active approved management plan. Management plans must be reviewed by approved annually by the Housing and Community Development Offices. So there's a lot of stuff happening with the extreme weather shelter ordinance, and they want to put this public hearing, which is set for October 7th. So if you have anything to say about an extreme weather homeless shelter and you want to help get involved or give some support, or you have some concerns about this, they're going to be doing it. They're going to have a public hearing set for October 7th, which I believe is a week from this coming Monday. And if this passes, it will be implemented by November 1st, just in time for the winter extreme weather conditions for homeless folks who will need some of the shelters like the Salvation Army. All right. So back to Mary Jane Boulevard in the city of Missoula. There's a lot of land that's being developed, 57.5 acres between Walmart off of Mullen and all the way towards Flynn Lane. There's a whole partial land that's going to be developed into those housing, just much like the ones that they have across from Helgate Elementary. They're going to be doing some more development there. They're trying to figure out a way to lower the density while also increasing the amount of traffic flow for the Mary Jane Boulevard, try and help deter traffic off the Flynn Lane that people take to usually get to the airport up Mullen. Nick Kaufman, he talks about the issues that many face with the high density. This is what he had to say about that. Here's Kaufman.
When you think you're doing something really great, like rewriting Title 19 to Title 20, and you put something in there about split zoning, and you find that you have large parcels in this community that have several zoning districts, you find that it constrains the parcel in a way that almost makes it undevelopable, because you have to go back through a zoning process. And what's worse than that is you have 57 acres that deserve mixed use and gradations of density. You can only do that with separate parcels. You can't do what we did in 2002 with Hellgate Meadows zoning district in 2019. It's a really important thing to understand. All right?
All right, so that was Hoffman. That was Nick Kaufman's issues that many face with high density. Nick also talks about TEDs and how they could derail the process in terms of processing and working on the proper paperwork and proper channels.
The subdivision process, for all good reasons, is this long. And you can say, oh, no, it's just 35 days. Well, yeah, it's 35 days after you do your design, do your neighborhood meeting, meet your element, meet your sufficiency, meet with development services, and go through things. It really is over a year, right? And you can't expect the governing body to hold all the regulations consistent over that year and a half. So reasons, I hope, beyond me, right? You're proposing a change to the TED. That's great. I wish you the best of luck with that, right? Okay, but we started this process and we applied for a subdivision and we applied for rezoning well in advance of those TED amendments, right? And I have every confidence that we'll be grandfathered so we can move forward because we're doing it exactly the way that the city of Missoula recommended. They recommended opticos. They recommended a subdivision. They recommended the TED as appropriate after the subdivision, okay? We can stop everything and start over again, but what's going to change in the next year and a half? I don't know. Right? So I don't know if I've answered your question, but...
All right, so it's the uncertainty of the future, which also, this is very well affected with the TED and the update with the TED programs, Title 19 to Title 20, which is the whole downtown master plan about future development of the city of Missoula. What else do I have? I also have Nick talking about some of the numbers put into place with what they want to do in terms of housing and what they want to do with their master plan of this 57 acres.
So we've looked at a master plan for the entire site, and we reduced the density initially in our first change by over 50%. We had non-residential uses only in the southwest corner. Our multi-dwelling buildings with more than 6 units were in the limited areas you see in the red circles. The building heights are limited on the perimeter and adjacent to 1 and 2 family and 2 stories only. Townhouses are limited to only 8 units per dwelling, and multifamily buildings are limited to 16 units per acre on the entire, or 16 units per structure on the entire site. So if you look at the larger multifamily projects that have happened on Mullen Road, you'll see that there's way more than 16 units per structure, right? To make it fit the neighborhood and address the concerns, we've reduced it by half.
All right, so that's kind of one of the things that the process has been put into place. Basically, this would allow for more space and more elbow room, while at the same time allow for lower mortgage for folks moving into single-family housing. All this with addition of Mary Jane Boulevard, which will allow access to passage from Mill to Broadway across access besides Flynn and Reserve. Nick Kaufman also talks about site regulations in developing. This is what he had to say.
In the private sector and in the public sector, you have a certain amount of money. You guys have a budget, just like everybody else. You decide where to spend that. If you enter into a development process and you find out that the answer is going to be wait, your propensity to enter into that development process again is reduced. And you decide where else you want to spend your money, right? So maybe what you want to do is go buy a piece of property, like Brian Walker did, that's zoned, and just develop it without going through subdivision review. That's how you spend your money. You should get a return on investment. There needs to be some assurances, right, and some consistency for the people who are willing to invest their time and money in a long process to provide housing for this community. It's very expensive and it's very risky. And we've done the best we can. If it's not enough, that's for you guys to decide.
All right, so that's the last quote I have from Nick Kaufman. Mirta Becerra responds to that comment.
And so we are in the process to go out there, both city and county, jointly looking at this and seeing how this fits into the larger picture. We're talking months from now. The Bill grant, I'm optimistic about it. I'm encouraged by all the support that we have from fellow city council members, by the mayor, by our state representatives. It looks very promising. But until we have it, until I see a press release where it says that we got it, I think we need to be a little bit cautious. And we need to have certain assurances that the development agreement, in my opinion, is not 100% getting us there.
All right. So that was the kind of like, so far this plan was brought up and has gone through plenty of things, and the city approved it for the public hearing on Monday's city council meeting. So they're going to talk a little bit more about this development of the 57 acres on that old farmland area. There's a lot of areas that are being developed in that particular area, but this is a big chunk of the city of Missoula as it's expanding further east, west, and all over. So it's really flat too. It is a perfect place to expand the neighborhood that they are building right there so far, and it's almost perfect for the Hellgate Elementary School District. All right, so basically that's all I had to say for your city council report. There was a lot, so I apologize, and you too can watch these city council meetings yourself. All you got to do is go to ci.missoula.mt.us. It is a wonderful resource for anybody involved with the city or wants to get involved with the city. Hey, you want to get involved with local politics? A lot of times they have a lot of career opportunities, volunteerships and all that stuff, but to get started, you have to start somewhere, and you have to get involved. And go to ci.missoula.mt.us to get involved with the city of Missoula. Again, that website is ci.missoula.mt.us. Okay, so without further ado, I have a video for you guys, and this is all the new programs going to be airing on MCAT this weekend as well, including the Presidential Lecture Series, which kicks off this weekend.
And we have about 2/3 of the population who experiences at least one kind of adversity, and about 17% of the population who experiences about 4 of these 8 that they looked at. So they looked at child abuse and neglect, which could be, physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. It could be physical or emotional neglect. So, sometimes emotional neglect isn't something you think about with things like this, but it could be that the parents are on their phones and gone all the time, right? And they have lots of money and they've got, their needs met in a lot of ways, but the kid isn't getting the connection that they need. They also look at, like I said, substance use in a parent, and mental health issues, seeing your mother be hit, or there's one more, seeing a parent that's in jail or incarcerated. So there's 10 they looked at in a big national study. If you want to know more about it, I could go on for like 2 to 6 hours. So we don't need to do that.
So I wanted to show these data just a little bit just to indicate that there's been a marked improvements in malaria treatment and subsequent deaths in kids in areas like Zambia over the last 18 years. So this is done through something called a Zambia Malaria Indicator Survey, and that's where they, again, 4,000 households were sampled on this one throughout different parts of the country, and making sure that all regions are sampled appropriately and proportionately. Well, they'll go out and ask families about malaria prevention strategies, and then they'll also test all these children.
You might love wisdom in the abstract, but when it comes to deep attachment, when it comes to the magnanimity of surrender to another person or even an ideal, and someone is lost, someone is betrayed, tears will flow when you are at the funeral with your mama in that coffin and you are not shedding a tear inside or outside. Where is indeed the profound love? That's the fundamental difference of the prophetic legacy of Jerusalem. That our precious Jewish brothers and sisters in writing that Hebrew scripture say life actually begins with tears. And to be human is to spread hesed, loving kindness to the orphan, the widow, the weak, the vulnerable, the oppressed, the poor, the prisoner, the subordinated, the dominated. That's a whole moral revolution in the species in terms of conceptions of how we are to achieve the highest levels of our humanity.
Hey guys, welcome back. Now let's talk a little bit about what's happening in your local culture. It's time for a little bit of the events that are happening within the city of Missoula. Hey, if you're looking for employment, they have Project Employment Connect. The Lifelong Learning Center is hosting a service and job fair, which is open to the public, and it opens at 10 a.m. It's for youth employment, training information, housing information, free birth certificate, and ideas. And at the job fair, that is free for employers. The Salvation Army location offers free haircuts and interview clothing, showers, and free headshots for people. So Lifelong Learning Center starting at 10 a.m. pretty much going on for quite some time today as well. It's a job fair. National Parking Day Parklet. Missoula Public Library is doing a parklet, is partnering with Fact and Fiction. It's going to be out of Fact and Fiction for the parklet, because usually it's downtown. And it's a parklet where they take up a parking space and they dress it all up. It's going to be wonderful and great from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's going to be happening from you have a virtual tour as well of the new forthcoming library. They give you 3D glasses, and you get you basically get a chance to see it from 4 to 8 p.m. you have an opportunity to take the virtual tour forthcoming new library through the use of the virtual reality glasses. So that's going to be pretty cool. And this is going to be out in front of Fact and Fiction, so you can check that all out. Students rally for the school strike for Climate Week. So today, Karis Park, starting in about 10 minutes or so. But of course, if you're watching this afternoon, you missed it. From 10 a.m. to about 12, university and high school students will hold a kickoff rally for the school strike for Climate Event Week and actions with speeches and songs. Karis Park, 10 a.m. to 12. Can't miss it. Climate Change in Vietnam, an education adventure. University of Montana, in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the UM's Climate Change in Vietnam program. Learn from past travelers about climate changes facing the nation of Vietnam, considered one of the world's most vulnerable to climate change. Missoula Public Library is doing yarns and watercolor at the Missoula Public Library from 12 to 1 p.m. Family Strike for Our Future, Missoula County Courthouse. Join Missoula families and kids to show concern for the climate crisis and demand action now. The family-friendly gathering will be led by area middle schoolers and others, and will include personal climate stories, art for the wee ones, singing, solidarity, as well as information on how to get involved and make change in Montana. And this is going to be at the Missoula County Courthouse this afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Teen Riders Group is happening at 3:30 p.m. at the Missoula Public Library from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. This is a great way for teens to engage with writing. They're interested in become writers. This is a good opportunity to get their ideas read, some constructive criticism, and eat a little chocolate along the way. So you just go to the U section, the young adult section of the Missoula Public Library. Visit Middle Eastern Pop-Up Dessert Sale. Soft Landing is hosting an event right outside of Good Works Ventures, which is basically right next to James Bar, Double Front Chicken, that particular area. You can't miss it. This is a part of Soft Landing, Missoula, where they introduce people Middle Eastern pop-up dessert sale, homemade desserts from the Middle East, come free coffee and tea, courtesy of Starbucks and Lake Missoula Tea Company. Meet local refugees and chill by some dessert to taste or to take home. And also, Missoula Fall Tango Festival, Hip Street Ballroom, Missoula Senior Center, starting at 6 p.m. 10 workshops, musical history lecture, barbecue, potluck, and yurt dancing, starting at 6 p.m. at the Missoula Senior Center. Fall Flicks at the ballpark, Oregon Park Allegiance Field, the Osprey Field, is going to be doing Aladdin, the live-action Aladdin, tonight. The gates open at 5:30. It is free for the family. You can bring some lawn chairs, bring some blankets. You can sit down in the field, or you can sit in the the seatings that they have there. And then basically they want to start the movie 6:30 around that time. But also, this is Walk and Roll Week is kicking things off, and they have the Bike Fun Fest. The Roxy is they're doing a 3-night of films and bike fun in Missoula, Montana, starting September 19th, 20th, and 21st at the Roxy Theater. Filmed by Bike Adventure Shorts program. So that's kind of what's happening with that. I do want to show an art clip, but I think I'm going to skip that and just talk about some Saturday events. Farmers Market is always from 8 to 9 p.m. You got some barrel racing at the Missoula Fairgrounds. This is continuing on well until October 12th, every single Saturday at 8 a.m. This is barrel racing hosted by Marsh Performance Horses. Buckles, prizes, and added money, so you get to see some horses, do some tricks, equestrian, cool stuff. More details at the Facebook page, Marsh Performance Horses. Homewards Financial Fitness class. I suggest this is a perfect area for people if you have financial struggles and you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're trying to figure out exactly how you can budget your money and find out a way. This is a financial fitness class which happens ever so often, but particularly they're happening tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And this is to get in financial shape, set goals for spending, saving, managing debt, and learn other money management skills. Learn how to take charge of your financial life. Learn how to use credit cards responsibly. They teach you exactly that having a credit card isn't a bad thing, and it can be used to help you in the long run. Saturday open house at Moon Randolph Homestead. They're still doing this well into October. 11 a.m. to about 5 p.m. Moon Randolph Homestead hosts tours, education about the one of the older homesteads, which was an original way that they got people to move out west. And also, Saturday drop-ins from 1 to 5 every single Saturday, all year long, all school year long. Kids get a chance between the ages of 9 and 13. We always look for kids who are middle school, can read, can use some computers, pretty much kind of do the things on their own. We're here to provide a creative, safe space for kids to do some stop animation with drawings, Legos. We got some clay here as well, but they can also bring some of their own stuff as well. We encourage creativity. It's a great place to hang out with some creative people. Venezuela Nights at Missoula International School. Missoula International School is a school here in the city of Missoula. It's off of 3rd Street. In this one, they're doing a expansive cultural diversity reflected in its dances and music. Venezuela's indigenous, European, and African heritage are merged to form an identity of a country's profound in its diversity. Come experience the different types of music common in Venezuela as they dance and they use the traditions. The dancing devils of Yar, La Paranda de San Pedro, and El Sabucan. Oh, sorry, I probably should have prepared that before I just read it, cold read it. Get ready to have fun with receive Latin music, dance lessons, and salsa. So, of course, Sunday, Fort Missoula is doing their apple fall harvest and apple day at Missoula Historic Museum at Fort Missoula. If you go to their museum grounds, you get a tour around, learn some history, while at the same time you also get to enjoy some of the autumn, some cider, some fun stuff as well. A lot of community activities for all ages, and this is happening from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Sunday. Missoula Together. Missoula Together is hosted by the City of Missoula. They're sponsoring this as well. This is a commitment to many cultures and religious traditions that contribute to the rich fabric of Missoula community life. By sharing who we are, we will dispel fear and false myths about the other and build community together. And so much so, basically it's a rally. Come together, people will talk. This year they will assemble at the Karis Park in the afternoon from 1 to 4 p.m. at Karis Park for Missoula Together. It's the first annual drone club meeting. Fort Missoula Regional Park is also doing a drone. So if you're there for the Apple Days, why not stay a little bit longer to enjoy some drone club? So if you have a flying drone, they will cover racing and event schedules, prizes, safety, and no-fly zones. So it's a good way to get educated while also being able to fly your drones, because there's some places in the city of Missoula that do not allow for drone flying. University of Montana does not allow drone flying around their campus. That is one place that I know for sure. You cannot fly it around the airport. And of course, they had a huge issue back just this last year about drones flying into fires during the fire season, which had to land a couple of the planes that were putting down some of the water and retardant that were putting out the fires. So you got to be very careful when flying drones, and this is a good way to get involved with the drone club. So it's a drone club that's just starting at Fort Missoula Regional Park, starting at 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday. Whew! I think that pretty much wraps everything up. I want to tell you guys once more where you can find out more information about my show and other things by going on to wakeupmissoula.wixsite.com/wakeupmissoula. So nice we made you write it out twice. You can go to mcat.org to find out all your local resources about current programs, past programs, and also upcoming programs that are going to be airing on our channel. You can watch our live stream on Local Live. You can watch our channel 189, and you can watch channel 190. And it is a great resource for anybody who also wants to get involved with MCAT as well. You can call us at 542-6228. If you have any information, if you want to know any more information about how you can come in and create your own television program and other show, just like I do, every Friday here from 9 to 10 a.m. So without further ado, I'm Scott Ramp, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay warm. If you like the rain, stay wet. If you don't like the rain, stay dry. All that stuff. Have a wonderful time. Take care and goodbye.